Hello. I am Nibberful. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well, enjoying this lovely Easter weekend if you celebrate. There's also, I think, Ramadan and Passover that's happened recently. Quite a few holidays. I thought we would watch another JCS video, of course. This time, the interrogation of Colonel Russell Williams, a fellow Canadian. Let's hear it for the True North, strong and free, guys. Bunch of weirdos. Without further ado, let's get into it. Rightio, here we go.
David Russell Williams enrolled in the Royal...
I'm gonna make sure. Turn the volume all the way up.
Canadian Air Force in 1987 and was soon promoted to captain by January 1st, 1991. From that moment on, he would have been addressed as Sir by his subordinates and Captain Williams by his superiors. Described as an elite pilot and shining bright star...
Captain. I thought it was a colonel. Well, I guess that comes after captain, possibly. Getting ahead of himself here.
Of the military, he quickly rose through the ranks and was promoted to colonel in June of 2004, while also being appointed the role of commanding officer at CFB Trenton, Canada's largest Air Force base. He was essentially in full command of over 7,000 military personnel.
I wonder where Trenton is. I have no knowledge, really, of where any military bases are, except for I know a couple of Navy ones, because my dad was in the Navy. Cornwallis, I think, he's in Nova Scotia, potentially. Could make sense. I mean, Nova Scotia, maritime provinces, ocean, pretty essential for the Navy. Anyway.
All of whom would have then referred to him as Colonel or Colonel Williams without exception. This would have afforded him an extensive amount of psychosocial equanimity and confidence, and wasn't exclusive to his work life. His designated title of Colonel would have been printed on...
He just looks like a dick, doesn't he? Could be my personal aversion to army personnel.
All forms of identification, and every formal encounter would sanctify this military standing. A doctor, lawyer, police officer, or any other figure of authority would recognize and comply to the traditional courtesy of addressing him by his professional rank, boosting his composure and self-assurance each and every time as his elevated social standing and military achievements were accentuated for all to see.
Yeah, that's literally the last thing you want to do for, like, a sociopath, weirdo, murderer, douchebags that boost their ego with every single interaction. That's not good. It's not good.
There was one exception, however, and that was the day he met Detective Sergeant Jim Smith.
You just have to see girls.
Before clarifying the psychological relevance as to why...
Yeah, I mean, there definitely would be psychological relevance. He's already undermining his authorities, trying to put him either on the back foot, make him feel small, or just piss him off, isn't he?
A senior detective would purposefully refrain from addressing a highly respected military commander by his formal title. First, consolidate each of the...
You mean, other than the fact that he's a piece of poo? Anyway.
Elements and circumstances that led to the crossing of paths between these two profoundly dissimilar yet equally fascinating individuals. 10 days earlier, on January 28th of 2010, Andy Lloyd received a call from his mother around midday stating that his younger sister, 27-year-old Jessica Lloyd, had failed to show up to work and wasn't responding to phone calls or text messages. He immediately drove to her isolated home on Ontario's Highway 37 and discovered she wasn't there. There was no sign of a break-in, yet Jessica was known for leaving her doors unlocked, and all of her personal items were...
Yeah, that's something about Canada that's pretty crazy. Now that I live over in the UK, honestly, I would never, ever leave my door unlocked. I grew up, for the most part, from like age 8 or so, on a small island off the coast of Vancouver, and nobody ever locked their doors. They left their house for, like, to go on vacation and left their doors unlocked. It's just crazy to think about.
Still inside the premises, including her phone, passport, and driver's license. Ottawa is known for its remarkable...
I mean, I know that's more of a rural Canada thing, obviously. You wouldn't do that in the city, but
low crime rate and widely recognized as the safest city in Canada. The local authorities had resources to spare.
I didn't know that about Ottawa. Interesting. Our nation's capital. Very safe.
And a missing persons investigation was launched immediately, which included an entire division from the Ottawa Police Force, over 2,000 members of the public, and even a specialist search and rescue unit from the Canadian Air Force. The word spread extremely fast across the city through the help of the media, and on the second day of Jessica's disappearance, an anonymous member of the public came forward with vital information. He stated that while driving home from work the night before, at roughly 3 a.m., he drove past Jessica's house and noticed an SUV parked in a field just a short distance away. He stated that he remembered feeling that something just
Definitely
seemed off,
sus.
as it was parked in such an unusual area at such a late hour, and he had drove past the premises thousands of times before and not once seen the vehicle before that moment. Police immediately canvassed the area in question, where they found tire tracks in the field and boot prints leading up to Jessica's house. They had attained their first two significant pieces of evidence, which then became the foundation for the next stages of the investigation. Police immediately set up 6 roadblocks throughout the surrounding area and stopped every SUV that passed in the hope of finding a match to the tire tracks. They reportedly stopped over 200 vehicles over the next 4 days, yet had no luck, and were on the
That's a lot of cars. Well, not even just cars, vehicles. It's a big old surge in them.
verge of reassigning their manpower from the roads to conduct foot patrols in off-road areas and pathways. However, at roughly 7:30 p.m. on February 4th, their luck did a full 180, as the sports utility vehicle of Colonel Russell Williams was stopped. He was reportedly polite and nonchalant about what he thought was a routine traffic procedure and was sent
A little too cocky there, eh, Colonel?
on his way after just 90 seconds. Unbeknownst to him, he was immediately placed under police surveillance from that moment on, as his tires came up as a complete match to the tracks found in the field near Jessica Lloyd's house. 2 days later,
Got you.
on Sunday, February the 7th, he received a call from police headquarters in Ottawa asking him to visit the
Yeah, I mean, he probably expected to breeze straight through that traffic stop because, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a known thing that with any sort of authority, you know, police, army, they all sort of have a certain sort of relationship, don't they? They all kind of, I don't want to say look the other way, but there's a certain sort of expectation of how they interact with each other. Well, let's just put it that way.
premises for the purpose of answering questions in relation to an ongoing investigative matter. The colonel didn't inquire further and agreed to drop in
Look at those teeny little arms. Call yourself an army man? Teeny, tiny little stick boy.
into the police station immediately. He reportedly told his
probably
wife
just
that he
an
would be
angle,
back
but-
for dinner before setting off,
Any way I can make fun of this guy.
and arrived at the headquarters shortly before 3 p.m., where he was greeted by Detective Sergeant Jim Smith, a trained polygraph technician and senior investigator of the Policing Behavioral Sciences Unit.
Kind of with the polygraphs. It's interesting how prevalent polygraphs still are, because as far as I know, actually I'm going to pause it for a second and Google this, but as far as I know, they're not admissible in court as evidence anymore. Right, so here we go. A common question. This is from cruiselaw.ca. Lie detector tests are apparently the short answer, whatever that means, is that lie detector test is not admissible in court, and it cannot be used either for or against you. So there you go. So like I said, it's kind of crazy that they're still so prevalent. But I guess if you watched my last video, well, not video before last, part 2 of the Chris Watts case that I reacted to, it was all about them doing a polygraph on Chris Watts, and that was used by the FBI. So it's still a pretty common technique. But like I said in that video, it's pretty good leverage, I suppose. A nice psychological technique in interrogation, and so yeah, making people think you've got more information than you do, I suppose. I don't know.
Unit.
You just have a seat here, Russell.
More
I'm
leverage.
just going to move your gloves here. That's a little microphone, just to make sure there's nice and clear. As you can see here, everything in this room is videotaped and audio taped. You ever been interviewed by the police in a room like this before?
I
Or?
have never been interviewed like this.
Oh no? Okay.
I guess the closest interview by NIS for top secret clearance.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, again, Russell, I appreciate you coming in.
The gasconade is casually acknowledged, yet quickly brushed to one side by the detective, followed by the informal address to the subject using his first name. He immediately sets the stage for the interview and takes the colonel down from his elevated platform for the sole purpose of stripping away confidence. This increases the telling signs in body language and intonation when information is fabricated, and also decreases...
Yeah, you kind of see in his face he's not exactly happy about that interaction, is he? Colonel.
cognitive stamina, lessening the amount of time an individual can keep a facade before they essentially break.
An investigation like this, I mean, I'm sure you can appreciate it's been big news, especially down Belleville way. And, you know, obviously our approach to cases like this is that we don't give up on somebody being alive until we get evidence that they're not. So because of that, we're treating Jessica's case as an emergent situation, obviously. So we're fast forwarding things that we might normally take our time with, and that's why we're here on a Sunday afternoon. So again, I appreciate it. We're going to do a pretty...
Oh, those polite Canadian police. I know he's probably got to talk in a much more formal manner to be, I don't know, intellectually superior, or like, just you want to throw your weight around a little bit and, you know, show you know what you're talking about. But there is definitely a little bit of that, oh geez, coming on a Sunday. Oh, very Canadian. I'm loving it.
pretty thorough interview today, okay? And the reason for that is because the last thing we want is to be calling people back again and again and again, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go over a number of things, and I'm going to explain what all those are to you, okay? I'm a big coffee guy. I don't know if you're a coffee guy or not, but I didn't want to drink in front of you.
Oh, yeah. How about I give us a double there from Tim Hortons guy? Yeah. Oh, jeez.
That?
All right, go ahead.
I could definitely. Are they black?
Yeah, they're just black with sugar. All right, and again, like I said, this interview is going to be very thorough. But again, I have a simple rule when I talk to people. It's I'm sure you're the same way. I treat everybody with respect. I don't want to ask that they do the same for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by going through what your rights are. Okay? Just like everybody else. Okay. Have you ever been read your rights before?
No.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it on TV a whole bunch of times, but that's usually the American version. So I'll go over with you briefly. Okay.
However, these...
So just to avoid any confusion, because people do get confused when they're talked to by the police, is that you're obviously not under arrest here today. Okay. Anytime you feel you want to leave here, you feel free to do so. The doors.
It's interesting to see the difference between this interrogation and the last video I reacted to. Stephen McDaniel's. Definitely a lot more casual. But this is, I'd say, good, impressive. Definitely be interesting to see where this goes.
Not locked. Teresa will walk you down the lobby anytime you want. Okay.
Although the subject was free to leave at any time, there was a very subtle yet highly effective subconscious strategy set in place to try to stop this from happening. The detective has sat between Russell and the door. You will see this method utilized in almost every interrogation.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that in pretty much all of the videos that I've reacted to. The positioning, making them feel a bit trapped.
As it's a subliminal message essentially telling the subject, if you want out of this room, you have to go through me.
If there's anything that comes up in our interview today, Russell, that you feel you want to talk to a lawyer about, you just let me know, okay? Sure. And the reason for that is I want to explain to you exactly what's going on here, okay? Jessica Lloyd is one of 4 cases that we're currently investigating. Okay, and essentially what's happened is over the past about 4 or 5 months. 4.
I wonder. I did look this guy up briefly before I started watching this video, just to get a bit of background. Said on there that we only had 2 victims, so I wonder if he was involved in all 4 of these. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
There have been 4 occurrences that, like I said, that we're looking into. 2 of those occurrences occurred in September of 2009.
Could just be 2 murder victims, maybe. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop trying to Nancy Drew my way through this.
And very briefly, they were up in the Tweed area.
Yeah.
They involved somebody entering 2 different women's houses in the evening hours and committing sexual acts.
Yeah.
Okay.
During 2009, there were 34 break-ins and attempted break-ins in the quiet town of Orleans, Ottawa, resulting in the theft of hundreds of intimate female garments. One incident
34. Jeezy crazy, that's a lot. In a small town? Wow.
of rape and one incident of forcible confinement. All of these occurrences took place not far from the home of Russell Williams, who is now the prime suspect for each of these infractions.
How cocky do you have to be? Like, this guy must have felt untouchable with his position in the army, honestly. And like I said, in a small town as well. Like, you gotta be smarter than that. I mean, if you've got some army training, surely. It's just crazy.
At the time of his interrogation.
In November of 2009, a young lady by the name of...
It's like we say, man, stupid criminals. Can't believe how dumb they are sometimes. Even the ones you think would be a little bit more clever. Just...
Marie-France Como.
My people.
Yeah. Was found murdered in her home in Brighton.
Yeah.
And we believe that there was a sexual component to that crime as well.
Corporal Marie-France Como was a 37-year-old military traffic technician based at CFB Trenton. She was raped and suffocated to death inside her home in late November of 2009, which the colonel was also the prime suspect for at this moment.
And
surely, why would he do it to people that he must have had some professional contact with her if she was on the same military base? Like, man, these people are stupid. Just, you suck. Oh, actually, look at his face there. In the mention of these... Yeah, he's not feeling very comfortable at this moment, is he? Your goose is cooked, Colonel.
And then, most recently, we have Jessica Lloyd's disappearance. Okay, so essentially, when you're looking at those kind of crimes, we're looking at a number of different potential criminal charges. All right, we're looking at issues all the way from the most serious one, which is first-degree murder, kidnapping, sexual assault, breaking and
Jaw's
with
working
intent to
pretty
commit
hard there on
sexual
that
assault,
gum, isn't it?
forcible confinement. Okay, and so what I want to make sure you understand, and this is what we've been doing with everybody we've been talking to, is that clearly, when we find out who's responsible for one or all of those crimes, they could be charged with one or all of those offenses, okay? Whether it's you or whether it's anybody else, all right?
Absolutely.
And that's why it's important that we make sure that people...
There's a bit of a smile there, wasn't there? I don't know if that's like a nervous tick, or if he's really that confident that they won't be able to pace it back to him. Or that he'll be able to pull rank somehow, because he's got his top secret clearance. Boo.
understand what they have to do and what they don't have to do when they're talking to us, okay? So as I said before, any point today you feel the need, you want to speak to a lawyer, you let me know, and we can take you to a room where you can do that in private, okay? Is there any reason you want to call a lawyer now?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, you
These first two
should, buddy.
attacks, happened.
You
not
definitely
the first one,
should.
Place in Tweed. Well, the second one did.
Yeah.
We didn't even know the first one had happened, but I understand that was reasonably close as well. But the second one was very close.
Yeah.
So certainly at the time, the OPP did a door-to-door.
Yeah.
And within a couple of days, probably the same night. So I spoke with a couple of guys then.
The analysis of vocal intonation is a tricky thing when dealing with interrogations, as it cannot be used as evidence in court. Yet intuition would give many the sense that discomposure is emanating from the colonel at this moment. The way he is speaking comes across as slightly nervous and unsure. He would appear to most as being agitated in the manner he is both processing information and communicating his responses. This type of cognitive recognition is a difficult thing to articulate into words, and investigators simply characterize it as gut instinct, which Detective Jim Smith would have no doubt been feeling at this moment.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm aware of that from...
Yeah, he's not quite looking at him full on. I can notice him kind of side-eyeing him a little bit, and his posture's definitely changed a little bit. His jaw's got his tenseness there for sure.
Looking at the different cases. And essentially, Russell, in a nutshell, that's what we wanted to talk to you about, okay? Those 4 cases are of concern to us. And
He's got a little nervous sort of thing with his tongue as well, doesn't he?
you know, you've kind of almost hit the nail on the head about some of our issues that kind of
Yeah.
make us want to talk to
Very
Russell Williams,
close
okay?
proximity to
'cause
your
essentially,
house, sir.
there was a connection between you.
Interesting that you're very aware of it as well. Because, I mean, when you think about crime, I mean, you will generally hear about crimes. You wouldn't hear about a fair amount of burglaries in your area necessarily. I guess it was a smaller town, but I don't know. Might just be hindsight that makes it a lot more suspicious that he's quite aware of stuff happening around him, but...
And all 4 of those cases. Would you agree? Geographically,
And then I guess
or
I drive past, yes, I would
Yeah.
have to say there's a connection, yeah.
The colonel is asked to state his movements and activity over the past 4 days, which is known in forensic psychology as gathering pretext. The detective wants to get an initial alibi from the suspect before the confrontational phase of the interrogation begins. This state that he intends to keep Russell in before he ramps up the pressure, and a more relaxed suspect often results in more detailed pretext, thus more information to scrutinize and correlate with any changes made at a later stage.
Friday on the day, I was, Friday on the day, I was at home most of the time. Most of the day, I had
Struggling to come up with an alibi, are we, Colonel Williams?
a sort of a stomach flu.
okay.
I'll
In
stomach
Ottawa
flu.
or Tweed?
Tweed.
In Tweed?
Tweed is a village in Ontario where the colonel had a second vacation home located roughly 125 miles from his house in Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we backtrack then. So all day Friday, you're at home,
Yeah.
and then what time do you leave to go to the base to sleep there on the Friday night?
Not sure. Probably just, went in for just before bed. So I probably left Tweed at between 8 and 9 or so.
Okay.
Why would you even bother trying to use a stomach flu as an alibi when you live on your own? There's no way of corroborating anything anyway. If you're just going to say, I was at home all day, why would you bother being like, oh yeah, I had the poops? Seems like overkill.
And you get to the base and spend the
And
evening there and get up for the 5:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So we backtrack from there. When did you arrive at your home at the cottage? I don't want to get confused between your home in Ottawa and the home in Tweed.
Understood.
So,
No, I had been in Tweed all week.
yeah.
The week prior now. Yeah, I think that's the case. I was in Tweed all week. Flew Saturday. Headed to Ottawa Saturday night.
Okay. So
So that makes it even less plausible he had a stomach flu. I guess it's maybe the fact that he's trying to oh yes, I have all of these details to recall, so I'm definitely telling the truth, officer. I remember the timeline quite well because I was ill. Yeah, not necessarily going to do a trip to Ottawa on a stomach flu. I guess, I don't know. If he's going back to the military base to work, then you can't really pass up on that.
if you didn't have the stomach flu on
Don't think military is going to take a tummy ache. Or is a sick note, are they?
the Friday, what was your
I think
schedule
it was
that
something
day?
like 8,
Okay.
really. What would have been my schedule? Just a standard schedule in the office.
Okay.
So, ops brief in the morning, couple of meetings. I can't remember what the specifics were going to be.
Okay. So Thursday night you slept at Tweed, or you?
Yep.
All right. And what did you do Thursday during the day?
Thursday during the day, I was at the base again. think it was a fairly standard day. I can't recall exactly, but yeah, I was not flying, so I was at the base. So I would have gone in early in the morning, back in the evening again.
Okay.
The method of gathering pretext is then focused on the murder of Marie-France Como.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to walk you through November, but I'm going to take you to a date that's probably pretty fresh in your mind, the day that Marie-France Como.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you found out?
I do. Yeah, I was sent an email. Well, as soon as the ops staff and the base learned, they told me.
Okay.
So I got an email. I can't remember if it was late at night or early in the morning. It was certain.
You right, bud? Oh. Alright, give me a minute. I'm back.
Yeah, I saw it. I want to say first thing in the morning because I had just come back from Ottawa. I was in Ottawa for a set of meetings on one of the days. I can't remember what day of the week we're talking about, but
Oot.
yeah, no, I mean, obviously when your people gets killed, it gets your attention. So.
Absolutely.
I'm very much sure.
I'm sure it got your attention, Colonel, didn't it? You piece of poo.
But coming in.
And how did you know Marie-France Como?
I'd only met her once. She was on a crew I was on just after I got to the base.
Okay.
Not very plausible. If she was on your crew, I feel like you'd have more than one interaction. They could probably evidence that pretty easily. I mean, everything in the military is documented. So, bit weak.
Do you know roughly when that happened?
Though we were on the same crew?
The time you met her, the one time there, yeah.
It was soon after I got to the base, so I don't remember exactly, but I would say in the first couple of months, so August, September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you got that email notifying you that something had happened.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of a clear recollection as to how your schedule
But
was going that week?
Well, I can't remember what day that the message came in. Just a second.
yeah. Ooh. Stare him down.
No, I can't remember what day.
Get him.
But I'm just thinking there was a whole bunch of activity spun up as a result, obviously.
Obviously, yes. Bit of a nonchalant way of putting it, isn't it? You're remembering specific details about things, and this guy just sucks. Don't like him.
I can't remember the day of the week.
This was the third time in quick succession the colonel stated that he couldn't remember the answer to the question. A normal interaction between two parties would most often elicit the person posing the question to reassure the individual it was directed at. Statements along the lines of, "Don't worry if you can't remember, we'll move on," or
Yeah.
"It was a long time ago, it must be difficult to recollect," would be afforded as a form of consolation and to also break the uncomfortable silence. Even during a legitimate witness statement, some form of emotional assistance or encouragement will often be given, especially to someone in the midst of recollecting a distressing moment or time period from the past. On this occasion, there is no such reassurance from the detective whatsoever, only a stoic gaze and not a single shift in body posture during the moments of silence.
I'm just trying to think through the news reports I read. No, I'm sorry, I can't remember what day that was, but
You would think he would have prepared a little bit more of an alibi for himself, just in case something happened. I mean, that must just show either how arrogant this douchebag was, or B, just how easily you can fail upward to the military, which is, I don't know, not my place to say. But surely, if you're a high-ranking individual within the military, you would have more tactical skill, and that would involve some sort of like forward planning and planning whatsoever. This guy doesn't have a clue. You know, first of all, he's breaking into houses in his own freaking neighborhood, stealing people's women's underwear and stuff like that, and like murdering his neighbors. What an idiot. And then he doesn't even have the sense to come up with a freaking alibi he's planned, just that he had a tummy flu. Like, this guy's stupid.
What we learned after the fact was that the MPs had learned of her death, I think quite a bit after her body had been discovered.
Okay.
So I think what happened, sorry, just a
He's really cracking under the pressure, isn't he? I mean, you definitely expect more from an army colonel. Not that Canadian army personnel sees a lot of active duty these days, but, you know. You suck.
So if we were to
Murdering
do
douchebag.
a similar investigation in your background, is there anything you can think of that anybody may have misinterpreted, or anything in your history that somebody might say Russell Williams
absolutely
did this?
No.
Okay.
Be very boring.
What's that?
It'll be very boring.
All right,
sure
because
you are very
essentially that's what
boring.
I'm looking at. Is it? You seem like a very intelligent person, and I think you can see how
I'll say that.
a surprise like that would certainly set off
Absolutely.
some alarm bells in our
There's
investigation, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So the next thing we need to cover off is, well, I'll just ask you this straight out. Given the types of crimes we're investigating, do you get much chance to watch television shows, CSI, things like that?
I do watch, I prefer Law and Order, but I do watch CSI occasionally, yes.
Okay.
You bring up the
So you have
tire
an
treads,
idea of,
possibly?
obviously, the forensic capabilities, things like that are out there. What would you be willing to give me today to help me move past you in this
DNA,
investigation?
hair.
What do you need?
Well, would you be willing to supply things like fingerprints, blood samples,
Sure.
things like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only two pieces of evidence that police had acquired at this point in time were the tire tracks and the footprints outside the missing person's residence. What many are unaware of is that the DNA found on Marie France Como was not admissible, as her body was highly decomposed at the time of discovery, thus making any genetic analysis virtually impossible, as this was before the era of the latest DNA testing method known as next-generation sequencing. Only one of the sexual assault victims had male DNA found on the back of her neck, yet this was by far the least severe attack, which falls into the bracket of forcible confinement, and had no exterior elements connected to the more serious infractions of murder and rape. The evidence of the tire tracks would be easily refuted by a defense team, as they were a relatively common brand for off-road vehicles, which would extinguish the BRD standard of proof, also known as guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. The only significant piece of evidence were the footprints. It was the singular and emblematic element linked to the culpability of Jessica Lloyd's disappearance.
If I do remember about this case correctly, there is a lot more evidence. They must find it later, potentially after he's arrested. But yeah, there's a really creepy evidence in this case.
And notice how the colonel looks down at his own boots as he gives his response to the following request.
Footwear impressions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's what we're gonna ask you to do.
Yeah, possibly trying to remember if he's wearing those boots or not that night, maybe.
All right.
These
I told you
boots,
when
yeah,
I came in
that's
here
right.
that I'm going to treat you with respect, and I've asked you to do the same for me. We talked about the whole idea of how we've approached you here. Okay, the trying to be as discreet as possible.
Mhm.
Okay, but the problem is, Russell, is every time I walk out of this room, there's another issue that comes up. Okay, and it's not issues that point away from you; it's issues that point at you. Okay, and I want you to see what I mean. All
Mhm.
right.
Go away,
What is a
Timmy
woman?
Meyer.
Can you tell me that?
The one thing I hate more, well, I wouldn't say more. One thing that's on the same level as these freaking murderers and R-wordists is mad bloody Walsh. I know he's never done anything violent, but he certainly has appropriated through his words and actions a lot of violence towards trans women and the LGBT community in general. So, fuck you, Matt Walsh.
This is the footwear impression of the person who approached the rear of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so he was wearing
Essentially, when you're
shoes.
dealing with footwear impressions, we have a gentleman on the OPP who's basically world-renowned. His name is John Norman. And essentially, with footwear impressions, you're in a situation where you're pretty much in the area of fingerprints, okay?
All of the previous affirmations were fabricated for the sole purpose of heightening psychological pressure. Footprints are not even close to being as indistinguishable nor incriminating as fingerprints.
This
I'm
is
just
a
saying, it's a
photocopy
bit, I mean, I know
of the
they
boot
can match
that,
treads
you took off your foot
pretty accurately.
just a little
but-
while ago, okay? Now, I'm not an expert in footwear impressions, so I rely on the experts. Footwear impressions are very much like fingerprint comparisons, okay? You take a look at this print, and again, this is one print. This person walked through, there's several different prints to compare. So we're going to get features off of one print to compare, features off another print to compare.
Yeah.
These are identical.
Yep. Yep. Poop in your pants there, Colonel. You better be.
Okay.
No refutal.
Your vehicle drove up the side of Jessica Lloyd's house.
Yeah, if you were innocent on that one, you would immediately be like, "Whoa, guy, hold on there."
Your boots walked to the back of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of the 28th and 29th of January. Okay. You want discretion. We need to have some honesty.
Yeah, he's just
Okay, because
sitting there
this is
nodding,
getting under
isn't he?
control really
Like,
fast, Russell. Okay, really, really fast.
It's not even like I feel like if you were your body language would be showing it as well. He's just like kind of frozen there. For somebody who is military trained, he's cracking under the pressure like crazy.
This is getting beyond my control.
Suck.
All right, I came in here a few hours ago, and I called you the way I called you today because I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. But you and I both know you were at Jessica Lloyd's house,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to know why.
The wheels are spinning, aren't they? I guess he's possibly trying to buy himself some time by looking at them side by side, whether or not he can spot any differences, but this is brutal. He's got nothing.
I don't know what to say. It's,
Well, you need to explain it because this is the other problem we're having, Russell. Okay? Again, these decisions are made by me. Right now, there's a search warrant being executed at your residence in Ottawa.
That must be where.
So your wife
Yeah.
now knows what's going on.
That must. Oh,
There's a search warrant being executed
Does
at
have a
your
wife.
residence in
Oh,
Tweed, and your
sucks to
vehicle's
be
been
her.
seized. Okay? You and I both know that
For some reason, I thought he lived alone. I think you just automatically picture freaking creeps like this as just lonely weirdos, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's a sad amount of serial R-wordists and murderers that are married and have kids. They hide it all too well.
you're going to find evidence that links you to these situations. you and I both know that the unknown offender, male DNA on Marie France Comeau's body is going to be matched to you, quite possibly before the evening's over. Okay? This is a major investigation. The Center of Forensic Science is on call 24 hours a day helping us with this. Your opportunity to take some control here and to have some explanation that anybody is going to believe is quickly expiring.
I'm still just watching him and he's just sat there like, yep, yep, yep. I mean, come on.
Okay. Russell.
Mascara in my eyeball. Go away.
Listen to me for a second, okay? When that evidence comes in, when that...
Yeah, he's barely even actually said a word. He's just kind of nodding and verbal nodding. Nods and verbal nods.
DNA match, when that phone rings and somebody knocks on this door, your credibility is gone, okay? Because this is how credibility works, all right? And
but you're regretting not speaking to that lawyer, aren't you?
I know you're an intelligent person and you probably don't need to hear this explanation, but I also know your mind's racing right now, okay? Because I've sat across a lot of people in your position over the years, okay? The bottom line is that as soon as we get that piece of evidence that solidifies it, DNA, okay? As soon as the expert in footwear impressions, the expert in tire impressions calls and says, yes, I've examined those and they're a match, it's all over. Because as soon as that happens, where's your credibility? Where's your believability? Russell, you know there's only one option. What other option is there?
What's the option?
Well, I don't think you want the cold-blooded psychopath option. I might be wrong.
But that's what you are, isn't it, Russell? Yeah. I'm trying to decide whether or not this is a technique, a stonewalling kind of thing he's trying to do, or if he's just simply shitting his pants. Oh, don't know. Don't really care. Screw this guy. Well, no, I do care because it's interesting, but, you know. Screw this guy.
Okay? Because don't get me wrong, I've met guys who actually kind of enjoyed the notoriety, got off on it. Got off on having that label. Bernardo
There's a lot of people that do it for the notoriety, isn't there?
being one of them.
Bernardo.
I don't see that.
Still no, that's probably one of the most infamous Canadian cases. Can't remember his first name now. I know they called them the Ken and Barbie killers because they were both like really good looking, blonde hair, blue eyes, and was it Kevin Bernardo? I'll have a look. Paul Bernardo, that's him, this freaking gross guy. But him and his girlfriend here, Carla Homolka, so you can see blonde hair, blue eye thing going on, these two. Yeah, they did some pretty messed up things together. One of their victims being Carla's younger sister, who was like 14 at the time, and it was just disgusting. But yeah, that's the Bernardo he's talking about. Paul Bernardo, a real piece of freaking work.
That in you. If I saw that in you, I wouldn't be back in here talking to you, quite frankly. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you got me fooled. I don't know. This is over. And it can have a...
You don't know if maybe he's now just trying to like bide his time and till he can speak to a lawyer, or they carry out the search on his house, or I don't know. He did tell him earlier that he could stop at any time and speak to a lawyer whenever he wanted to, so I don't know why he hasn't called him in by now. Because, yeah, that would be a smart move at this point.
A bad ending where Jessica's parents continue to wonder where her daughter's lying.
Yeah, poor thing.
And I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's a huge search still underway, and it'll continue. It'll continue until her body's found. Once that happens, then I don't know what other cards you would have to play. What are we going to do? Russell. What are we going to do?
You think I don't know, hopefully the narrator will come in and say something about what he's possibly doing now. Maybe like the psychological reasons behind it, or what sort of motive he might have for stonewalling like this. You'd think he would at least protest, claim innocence a little bit. This is just...
Call me Russ, please.
Okay.
Call me Russ.
What are we going to do, Russ?
That's all you could think to say.
I got the job!
Is Jessica somewhere we can find her easily? Like, is this something where I can make a call and tell somebody to go to a location and they're going to find her, or is this something where we have to go and...
Mirroring. Very interesting. Pardon me, I have learned this technique in some BS kind of corporate management courses that I've done. I always find it really uncomfortable when I find somebody else mirroring my body language. It makes me feel like icky. I don't know. Like you can just feel that somebody's trying to manipulate you, which is, I know, a little bit paranoid, but I'm the type of person that watches a lot of true crime. Of course I'm paranoid.
Take a walk.
Has he, to this point, even properly said one word in defense of himself other than, I just don't know what's going on here. Oh, it's just real weird. Oh, dude, so it's just real strange.
Russ,
You Russell.
maybe
So I say
maybe this would
Russ.
help. Can you tell me
Screw
what
you.
the issue is you're struggling with?
It's hard to believe this is happening.
And why would that be, Russell? Because you think you're above the law with your secret clearance? Or because you're trying to convince him that you're an innocent man? Because you're not searching your house. Hell no.
Why is that? Why is it hard to believe? Russ, is there anything you want from me? Is there anything you want me to explain? Is there something missing that you're struggling with that I can shed some light on for you?
I'm struggling with how upset my wife is right now.
This investigation,
Well, at least you've got some emotion on the matter, Russell, because I'm pretty sure anybody would be pretty effing distraught when they found their spouse was a R-wording murderer, douchebag.
Will end up costing no less than $10 million. Easy. And they will say no to nothing. Any request this major case manager makes on this case, they've already been told it's approved. Don't even bother asking.
What's interesting is obviously coming from the more technical standpoint of things, isn't he? Because, you know, as a colonel, he'll obviously have awareness of like budgets and constrictions financially that way. If they got $10 million, my guy, you're screwed.
So what am I doing, Russ? I put my best foot forward here for you, bud.
Oh, I just put my best foot forward here for you, but oh, jeez. So many Canadianisms. The nostalgia.
I really have. I don't know what else to do to make you understand the
Oh, interesting. The turntables have turned.
impact of what's happening here. Did we talk?
I want to minimize the impact on my wife.
So do I.
Interesting. So, is that him admitting guilt without admitting guilt? I mean, surely he must know. As we said earlier, they find evidence. I wonder if they'll show what the evidence is. They must do. They're pretty good with that type of thing in these videos.
So how do we do that?
Well, you start by telling the truth. So where is she?
Oh, that mouth's working. He's getting emotion. Oh, he's thinking about it, isn't he?
Get him out.
Is she close to where she lives? I've got maps of that general area. Which town is she near? Why don't we start there?
I'm not sure if you give me a map of that covers Calagar down to the highway
Damn, this detective's good.
and over to Tweed and south. I'll show you.
Let me see what I got here. I might have something. Is she inside, outside? Okay. Is she close to a road?
Yep.
Poor girl.
All right. Is it something where is she buried, or is she somewhere where if you walk there you would fairly easily see her?
It's here.
Okay. Okay. I'll be right back. Okay. Do you want any water or anything?
Sure.
Okay. I'll be right back. How long?
Get a little emotion myself. God, it's always awful. Finding the bodies and everything like that. God. Ooh, just give me a minute. Ooh, sorry about that. I think it's something about like that moment of finding a body and just thinking about the confirmation it gives to the family and everything like that. It's just devastating, isn't it?
How long has she been there for?
Oh, it's chilling. Oof.
A little over a week.
Was it fairly quick from the time she left?
I'm going to be honest, I didn't expect him to admit it. I thought he was just going to stonewall him until it went to court. Oh, that's powerful, actually. God. I don't think I've ever, properly watched a confession like that before. It's just so... It's almost like unburdened now that he said it out loud, isn't he? Like... Ugh.
Friday night.
Friday night?
Yep.
The
So what
night
was
of
she-
the tummy flu.
Between Thursday night and Friday night.
In Tweed.
With you?
Yeah.
How long was she alive for?
Oh, he's rocking.
Almost 24 hours, not quite.
Jesus.
Okay. Russ? You're doing the right thing here. Okay. Barry, the obvious question I'm gonna have for you is, when they go there, and they'll be there shortly,
Mm.
they're gonna find her.
Oh, yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Guess it's pretty wide open now, eh?
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Well, do you want to work forwards or backwards?
Doesn't matter.
Are you guys like a order in the local language, or just point at the menu and say, I need that?
Order into that.
I think I need to take another minute. Oh, I don't know why. Oh, this is just really emotional reaction to this. I think it's just like I was saying, you know, just thinking of the impact on her family and God, confirming he had it for almost 24 hours and just the unimaginable horror of that. And just something about the way this detective is handling it and like just the like raw emotion of this moment that you just don't really see anything like this ever, do you? Like, Jesus Christ. It's just it's heavy. It's heavy.
Why don't we start with Jessica?
This detective's very good at what he does.
How does that start for you?
I saw her in her house on her treadmill
Oh, screw you.
Wednesday night, I guess.
It's disgusting.
And I noticed she wasn't there Thursday. So I got into the house, look around.
God, that's so violating, isn't it? That's literally like majority of women's worst nightmare. All you have to do is go about your everyday life. Some effing psycho thinks they're entitled to your whole existence and they can take whatever they want from you. It's just disgusting.
Then, and they left. Noticed she'd come home. So I went back in. Through the back patio door. While she was sleeping.
Okay. Marie France Como.
There was an open window in the basement of her house when she was away. I went in there a couple of nights before she came home. Looked around. I went back in there late at night when she was at home. She was on the phone in her bedroom. She actually discovered me in the basement. She was trying to get her cat to come upstairs, and the cat was in the basement, had seen me and was fixated
God.
on me in the corner. She could.
Where's my cat? Oof. Right.
Get the cat up, so she came downstairs to try and get the cat, and weren't sure why she came over to me. I guess the cat was staring at me, and she was wondering what the cat was staring at.
Oh. That is definitely right out of a horror movie, isn't it? I'm sorry. I just don't know what to say to this. It's terrible. Those poor women. Oh, it's just senseless, isn't it?
The lights were on. So when she spotted me, I had the same flashlight. I subdued her,
Screw you.
tied her up, brought her upstairs. And strangled her later in the morning.
Why do you think these things happen?
Still can't even say out loud what he actually did to them, can he? Because he did a heck of a lot more than strangle her.
Have you spent much time thinking about that?
About why?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know the answers.
Well, that ends that. Shit. Well, that was an experience. I genuinely don't know what to say about that. I'm left very speechless. Well, obviously my heart goes out to those poor women and their families and all the victims of Colonel Williams. I mentioned evidence that they found, but I do know they found a lot of pictures. When he did all the break-ins and stole the women's underwear, he would take pictures of himself wearing the underwear while in their house. If you're interested, there's a heck of a lot more to what he did. I don't encourage looking up the gruesome details, but some of the evidence is wild, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, that was wild, that footage. I mean, I've watched a lot of true crime stuff, obviously, as I said previously. You know, I've seen a lot of courtroom footage and things like that of criminals. A lot of emotionally charged stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. You know, the moment it all comes out, really. It's messed up. And like I said, I did not expect him to just come out and say it like that. I thought he was just going to stonewall to the end. I thought he was just going to be one of those ones that didn't say anything all throughout the criminal proceedings in court and denied it, but no, he just came right out with it. At least he tried to protect his wife, but oh god. That's definitely gonna stay with me. Hi guys, just editing this video and wanted to add a little something on the end here because I don't know why this video has just stuck with me for a few days. I filmed my reaction on Easter Sunday. It's Thursday now. I'm editing the video to post it later today, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I've been trying to figure out why I was so emotional and so affected. And I think in the end it has to do with mental health. With my mental health, obviously. But with my thoughts and feelings around mental health in general and mental health advocacy. I consume a lot of true crime content, and I feel like that's because, you know, I've been through some pretty bad stuff in my life. As with the majority of people, these bad things were done by people I loved and trusted. And it's a very hard thing to consolidate the act with the person. And I think that's why I watch a lot of true crime, because a part of me just wants to understand why people do bad things. And normally, when you watch something like a true crime documentary or a YouTube video, you can separate the person from the act, or, you know, you can sort of dehumanize the perpetrator, if you know what I mean. The way it's described is detached But there was something about Williams's confession. One, it was like the most Canadian interrogation I've ever seen in my life. It was so polite, so cordial. I mean, there was even a fucking handshake at the end. Hilarious. But it made me so angry and so emotional because my natural human response, aside from the anger and the empathy for these women and the awful things that happened to them, and my natural human response was to have compassion for him. Though he's a piece of shit for the horrible things that he did, there was that sense in the end that you wanted to do the right thing. That could have just been an act. I mean, we'll never really know, but if there wasn't such a taboo around getting help, and I know the conversation around mental health is becoming much more open and accepted, which is amazing, but there's still such a taboo around the really fucked up stuff. And I'm guilty of that. Hell, how many times in my reactions do I call pieces of shit and stuff like that? But, you know, a family member who is in the legal profession said to me once that everybody deserves a chance at rehabilitation, and that's really stuck with me. It's not that I feel this man or anyone who has committed similar acts should be completely forgiven. You know, but I feel like there should be more support systems in place in our society for people who are struggling with these kinds of thoughts and feelings before they offend. You know, if we were less quick to bully and ostracize somebody who was clearly struggling with antisocial behaviour, and instead point them towards this sort of support, the world would just be a better place, in my opinion. I hope that made sense. But yeah, it just made me so emotional watching this, just feeling how senseless it all is. You know, these horrible things never should have happened to these poor women. This man should have felt comfortable to get help before it was too late, before he was consumed by the monster. I've seen good and kind people consumed by the darkness and pain inside of them until they became a monster, and it just doesn't have to happen, you know. Anyway, off my soapbox. Right, it feels a bit weird to say this, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment, like, subscribe, share the video, do all those nice things, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.